Hello and welcome to Guitarist Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.guitarist.com. My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and I'm real happy to be welcoming back to the show today a longtime friend of ours, guitarist Mick Michaels from the band Corners of Sanctuary. And today, Mick, we're talking to you because you guys put out a great new Christmas single called "Christmas Together," and you have a Christmas album out called Merry Metal XMAS, I guess, which is a collection of Christmas song you guys have put out over the years. So where I'd like to start the interview off today is telling me, before we get into the new single, how did the tradition of Corners of Sanctuary, recording Christmas songs each year start?
We knew that, early on we talked about hey man, it'd be kind of cool to do some Christmas songs.
Yeah.
And the consensus is that maybe we didn't want to get over religious or anything of that, because we didn't want to alienate listeners, but we also didn't want to kind of pigeonhole ourselves. So
there you go.
We toyed with it the first year or so, and then we decided, in 2012 we came out with our very first single and EP called December Wind. And it was a piano song with some guitar and stuff like that with the vocals. And it seemed to do real well. And it was something that we originally just figured, hey, it was going to be a one-time thing.
Yeah.
But then people started contacting us and saying, hey, you guys going to do another Christmas song. So what we had decided to do then was we from there we did a couple we did Jingle Bells and Joy to the World, but we just did instrumentals with them.
Okay.
And we added our own parts as well. So we took the main part of that traditional song, but then we added a whole section that was, our own creation. And we went with that, and people really seemed to like it. So we just said, to be honest with you, we'd rather just do our own material.
Yeah.
And we did. So each year we just started putting out a couple songs here and there, and then I think in 2015 we did a full album of songs, and then we just kept building from there. And now we started the Merry Metal Christmas tradition, and this is our 9th segment or installment of that Merry Metal Christmas tradition. So we were kind of it's just kind of like a staple now for us. People look forward to it.
What I love about that is, again, it's a case of giving the fans what they want or what they demand. I mean, without even kind of meaning to, it's now become a tradition. Every year, fans expect a new Corners, a Sanctuary Christmas holiday song, and I think it's a cool tradition to have because it sets you guys apart from some of the other rock bands out there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I've always said this, I've always enjoyed Christmas music on a personal level.
Yeah.
Always, I love this time of the year. If you follow my Facebook or podcast or whatever, I talk about Christmas pretty much all year round. So the opportunity to write original Christmas material is really something exciting. For a band, it's a great break from the norm. It gives us something fun to do. And on a business sense, we actually get a lot more airplay in the 6 weeks building up to Christmas than we would normally, especially on stations and other outlets that don't play metal normally. So I mean, it kind of opens up, it's kind of like a leveling point. Well, it's Christmas music, so we can get away with it if it's a little heavier or edgier or whatever. And
what I dig about it is, like you said, in the beginning when you first started this, you did kind of put your spin on some traditional Christmas songs, but like the Merry Metal XMAS, what I love about it is these are original songs, like you said, and you and I were chatting today online, prepping for the interview today, and I was telling you one thing I've always noticed about you, Mick, besides being a great player, you're a very prolific songwriter. So for a guy like you who can write songs like that, you got that talent. How different is it writing a Christmas song versus a typical, Corners of Sanctuary song?
Well, it's a different mindset in terms of, I guess, the message that you're trying to get across, right? So, I mean, basically, we're just kind of talking about the season and maybe how that makes you feel, or, you tap into some childhood memories and things like that. A lot of it's you're using major chords to keep that upbeat, full sound.
Yeah.
Where in a lot of metal, you're doing minor, using a lot of minor chords, maybe diminished chords, things like that. So you kind of get more of a grittier, darker sound. So we're not really doing that per se with the holiday music. But over the years, I've started to consider myself more of a songwriter than a guitar player.
Yeah,
I just so happen to play guitar.
Yeah, yeah.
So just kind of working on material. You stick to what you know, and then you kind of build from there, right?
Sure.
Song structure, arrangement. Where's the hook? That kind of thing. Especially with holiday music, you have to have something where people can sing along and feel some kind of emotional response. So that's what we work with, or we try to, I should say, each year when we're doing the holiday song. So I don't see it to be much different in terms of the grand scheme, but because we love doing it, as well as we love writing material. Period. We often have a lot of material on the deck. And because it's something that we do, right?
Sure.
It's what a band does. At least that's what a band's supposed to do. If we were a soccer team and we were playing baseball, I guess that would be a problem. We're a band, we're writing music, and we're enjoying doing it.
I mean, the thing about that is, as we sit here talking today, I last interviewed you about 3 months ago, and we were talking about your Def Leppard covers EP that had just come out. And then, 3 months later, we're talking about a Christmas album. So you guys are always putting out new product, and that's what I love about your band. And as far as like you consider yourself more of a songwriter, I could see that, because that's the thing is with this Christmas music, it's not typical corners of Sanctuary, hit you overhead metal music. And that's what I dig about it. It's kind of, they're fun, upbeat tunes. It's a little different. It's not what you'd expect from a band necessarily, but for what it is, holiday music, it works. And I love the fact that it's not the umpteenth version of Jingle Bells. You guys are putting out your own original music, and like with Merry Metal XMAS, it just goes to show this is your body of work that you've got thus far. I mean, and it has become a tradition.
Yeah, like I said, we did do the tribute, the Def Leppard tribute EP that released earlier in the summer, but we had debated for the whole existence of this band, the 12 years that we've been together, about doing cover material. We never got into it to do cover material, do anybody else's stuff but our own, both individually and as a band. But we got to a point where it's like, why not? Let's give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
So and it's kind of the reaction or the response was even more surprising than we had expected or even hoped for. We just figured, well, it'll get lost in the shuffle, just like so many other things are getting lost in the shuffle these days. I mean, right now, every 10 days, Spotify's saying there's 1 million new uploads, 100,000 every day. That's it's easy to get lost. So, it's given us new perspective and for even our own material. And so now, for us, cover songs aren't taboo. They're not hands off. You may expect to hear more coming from Corners of Sanctuary in the years to come. And, people, I do know that, or I do remember that when we first started doing some of the holiday songs, there was a little backlash from some of your hard-edged critics. But this isn't metal or whatever. In the grand scheme, it's about the music, and it's about what you're doing as an artist, as your whole portfolio. And if you're so pigeonholed into
who you are,
one style or whatever, you're never going to be able to grow. And so I guess part of what we do is we just try to keep growing and getting better at it. And I think it's, in my opinion, it's the key to longevity.
Oh, sure.
Not everything's going to be hit out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
If that was the case, man, it would be a whole different, ball of wax.
Yeah, and here's a question for you, Mick. How big of a Twisted Sister fan are you?
Oh, I'm a big Twisted Sister fan. Dee Snider was, in the 80s, was probably my all-time favorite singer. I mean, he just had style and and approach, and he had that attitude, you know. And I was really a big Twisted Sister fan, absolutely.
Yeah,
I still am. I mean, I still kind of follow. I follow the band, even though I know they're not together. But I follow D. Yeah.
And what, you know, talk about Dee's image and his attitude at the time. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen, you know, the footage of him speaking at the Senate hearings back in 1985, but, I mean, he made all those senators look like a fool, and he was the last thing they expected, you know, an educated rock star.
Oh yeah. I watched that. I remember, unfortunately, that whole PMRC. I mean, though they did get the warning label, it backfired.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It actually increased album sales. People were like, "I have to get this," and anyone that didn't have it, it wasn't worth buying, in their opinion.
Oh, sure,
so,
sure.
Yeah.
And I got that. I still got that image of not just Dee Snider, but Dee Snider, Frank Zappa, and John Denver, of all people, together, you know, telling the PMRC to, you know, a big F you, all three of those guys.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, again, like that. So that trio. I mean, Frank Zappa was always anti-establishment in terms of, like, you know, putting the thumb down on people.
Yeah.
But to demonstrate, like, those three people, those three personalities, those three styles of music,
any different.
That demonstrates that it wasn't about genre. It wasn't about heavy metal. It wasn't about, you know, country music or whatever.
Yeah.
It was about music and the freedoms that are supposed to be in place in this country, and what being an artist means.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not saying go out and, you know, with ill intent hurt people. I mean, there's people that do that, and I get it. But, you know, I mean, it's show business. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
It's entertainment. We have to police ourselves. I mean, we can't have, in my opinion, we can't have Big Brother
telling us what to do.
Telling us what we can and what we can't do, because that's going to stagnate the artist, and then what are we left with? Cookie cutter stuff?
Oh, sure. And we could get into that another time, but I'll tell you, in case you're wondering why I brought up Twisted Sister, because here's an interesting fact. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but for years, Twisted Sister's best-selling album, of course, was the 1984 Stay Hungry album, which, of course, had We're Not Gonna Take It, I Want to Rock. And since then, a number of years ago, Twisted Sister, the last thing they ever put out was a Twisted Christmas album, their set of Christmas tunes, and it's actually become their best-selling album, outselling Stay Hungry, if you can even believe that. So that just goes to show you that there is a demand for this stuff, or there is a desire for, you know, rock bands to put out this type of music.
I agree with you. I mean, in the 80s growing up, I always wished that more bands would have done it.
Yeah.
Like more metal bands, that I was into. And the ones that did do it back then, it was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. It never seemed real serious, or, you know, it wasn't really that well produced, in my opinion. But, you know, what changed all that is when Sabotage turned into TSO, and all of a sudden, like, you know, holiday music, it was really cool for all ages, you know, all walks of life to listen to this heavier music. It's, I mean, I've seen TSO live, I can't tell you how many times, but it's always funny to me to see a much older crowd, all these different types of people, and they're rocking with the band who, in my opinion, they're Sabotage.
Oh yeah,
right?
basically,
you know, it's just amazing.
And you know, it's become a corporate thing. And TSO, the amazing thing about it, when it really is a Christmas tradition, because you know, they get together and they rehearse all year long to come up with an annual show every year at Christmas time, and it's something people have come to expect. And like you said, it's pretty much the Sabotage band and their friends getting together, and they just do, you know, the set of shows every year at Christmas time, and they make bank, you know, and that's, when you think about that, the business that stuff does every year.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's just amazing. And it's good. Like I said, it's good stuff.
Oh sure.
And it's very enjoyable to watch. So you can't, you know, it's good.
And see, the thing why people would go to, if you're a rock fan, you go to see a show like that, is it's not your traditional Christmas show, like, you know, that you can go see every year. It's something really different. And on that note, the fact that you guys got so many Christmas tunes at this point, have you ever thought of doing like a one-off show, like a Christmas type show with Corners of Sanctuary? I think it'd be a cool event, even if it was a one-time event.
We did talk about it a few years ago. I think there was one show that we did Driven Snow.
Okay.
It's a heavier song.
Yeah.
But this is a number of years ago. We were playing during December. I think we were on the road, and we threw in we had Driven Snow during that set. What that run of sets. Mm-hmm. That was the only time we've ever actually really played it. But we have talked about it. The thing is we keep a pretty hectic schedule.
Yeah. That's like
it's going to sound like an excuse, but
no.
We'd have to dedicate extra time just to get that going, and then because we're usually booked
solid
relatively all year round of doing stuff, whether it's studio, whether it's getting ready for releasing, whether we're doing videos, whether we're doing shows. So maybe when things start to slow down for other stuff, maybe we'll have the time and we can start in August and put together a whole Christmas production.
Well, I mean, I know it wouldn't be on as grand of a scale as TSO, but the thing is, like I said, even with that one show, it takes that band like the whole year to work on the show that they put on in December, every year.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a fantastic show. So yeah, I agree with you.
And so I know you guys. The latest single, like I said, is Christmas Together. You guys got a great lyric video for that. So to me, what makes that song so great, besides being so upbeat, it's a great kind of holiday tune. But more than that, like when I listen to it, it's one of those. It's a song that kind of gets me thinking about Christmas. It gets me kind of thinking back all those. Like you were saying that Christmas is your favorite time of year, Mick. All those great Christmases I had with my family. Christmas Eve was always the big holiday at my house. Everybody would come and we'd get together. We still do that every year. It's kind of one time when the whole family does get together.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, again, I've always since I was little, right?
Yeah.
And I've always Christmas. That time of the year is just real exciting to me. I mean, I'm in my 50s now, and I still get that feeling. I really wish that, some of that magic that you see on TV really did exist. I don't know. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag if there's certain age listeners out there, but you know what I mean? If I could get to the North Pole and work in Santa's workshop, I would be the first one there, So I draw on a lot of that, so I'm trying to keep some of that magic alive for myself and then other people too. I mean, because it's a trying time of year for a lot of people, but then there's also a lot of excitement. So
sure. And then you forget sometimes that not everybody has it as good as maybe we do, that there's people out there less fortunate. And so like you say, this time of year for some people it's not always a happy time of the year. And you mentioned the song December Wind. Now I listen to that and it kind of like this is kind of the feeling I got. I put you should light a candle as you listen to this song. It's one of those tracks just kind of really gets you into the mood, and it's probably maybe one of the more different sounding songs on the album.
Yeah, and I think that was our first outing.
Yeah.
And we thought that for us to connect the people and to connect to a wider audience, we wouldn't use so much heavy guitar. And I think there was a lot of inspiration from TSO from that song, with that song. Not that it sounds anything like a TSO song, but we were thinking along them lines. How are they reaching a larger audience? Well, they're using piano and it's more open singing and chords, so it's not a lot of chunky stuff. So, but then as we started to grow ourselves with it, with the writing and saying, well, let's try this, let's try that. We, a heavy set, doing Driven Snow, it's a much heavier sounding song. It sounds like a Halford type tune.
Oh, sure. And in fact, Halford, I don't know if you're aware of this, he's put out a couple of great Christmas albums. I think he's got 2 of them, and and really great and worth checking out. I strongly suggest people do that. You can even, if you want to check some of that stuff out, go on YouTube and just listen to it for free. Fun stuff. And another song I really loved on the album is counting the days till Christmas. It was along the same idea as a traditional Christmas song, 12 Days of Christmas. I mean, how many of us this time of year do you start counting? I know around this time, like Thanksgiving, okay, only so many days left till Christmas. You start counting those days down. You start. What really shocked me this year is I think for the first time, you go into stores and they were having Halloween stuff, like, you know, back in August and September, and I'm like, wow, okay, they're getting a little ahead of themselves this year.
Right.
But it's always...
No, I mean, like, you know, again, that's exactly, like, you know, because I just on the radio this morning, I heard, like, this is how many shopping days, it's not even December 1st yet, but this is how many shopping days is left until Christmas. So, like, it's just something that, like, we all do. We do as children, waiting for Santa to come, and we do as adults because we know we have a time frame. We got to get these presents in, or we have this schedule, this party to go to, this gathering. We have to visit with so and so. You know, so counting the days, it's definitely something that we all do. And some people count the days till it's over, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
oh, sure.
Okay, I got 25 more days until this madness is over.
Yeah.
So it all depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, you know, and I hate to get political for a minute, but, you know, one thing I hate is, like, I even recently, like the last couple of days, you know, before Thanksgiving, heard some reporters on TV like, oh, you know, we shouldn't celebrate Thanksgiving. You know, the white man stole the Indians' land and all this. And, you know, don't say Merry Christmas. Say Happy Holidays. It's, you know what? I'm going to say Merry Christmas because, you know, I like I said, I just love this time of year. And, you know, I think people have a right to celebrate how they want, but don't push your views on other, you know, don't make people think they have to share that view, you know?
Oh, I agree with you. I agree. You're 100% right.
And another one I really loved that I want to talk to you about is what is Rockin' the Holiday. Again, that's a great song to kind of get you in that Christmas spirit, and it almost kind of reminds me along the same idea, anyways, along the lines of a traditional Christmas song. You know, like rocking around the. It sounds nothing like that. Just kind of the same kind of vibe though you get from songs like that. And I was thinking if you guys were to ever like perform that song live, that would be a great kind of rockin' holiday tune to like really get the crowd going.
Oh, I agree. That's so that was last year's release.
Yeah.
And we did kind of like that was kind of like our version of like punk. You know, Corners of Sanctuary, doing a little bit of a looser type of performance. But yeah, it's definitely, I don't know, you got me thinking now, man.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, who knows?
I mean,
we may actually find ourselves putting together a Christmas show.
That would be great. Or even if you just shot like a video for some of these songs, you know, and that's the thing, because, you know, the interesting thing listening to the album, I know these songs are all written and recorded like different times and different years, but in listening to the album, most of the songs sound like they, you know, like they fit on the same album. You know, it sounds like they would have been recorded at the same time.
Yeah, well, and some of that has to do with the mastering that we've done over the years. Like we try to pull the tracks together as much as we can. So there's a little bit of modification each year when a new track is added.
Yeah.
However, that once we put those other tracks together, the new track is kind of formed around that. As long as we continue to put these things in the same set. So it's listen. Like I said before, it really is a good time. We enjoy it so much, and we're just appreciative that people are that interested to want to listen to it.
Yeah, and another thing Corners of Sanctuary has become known for is you guys like to get involved, not just necessarily at Christmas time, but like you know, with helping you know, good causes and people, you know, charities and people less fortunate. So that's the thing I've noticed about your band over the years.
Yeah, we've always been involved in that kind of stuff. Like some of the whether it's a program or a charity or some kind of outreach is something that's kind of near and dear to our hearts. We've done benefits for cancer. We've done benefits for the homeless. We've done, we've done stuff for when, COVID first hit here in the States for families that were, rocked by that. The following year, we did some stuff to help the venues across the U.S. Get aid because, without the venues, bands don't have places to play.
Yeah, so, I mean... Yeah. I know you played...
Getting involved and giving back is definitely something I think it's important. Not just being in a band, but I think it's important, in the community, right?
Yeah.
To give back. It's very important.
I mean, you're so right. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and I'm pretty sure you guys have played the Whiskey out here, have you not?
Yes, we have.
And see, during all this COVID, we had a governor out here in California that he was threatening to. Luckily, didn't come to that, but at the time he was threatening to close down the entertainment. Oh, there's never going to be any live concerts again as long as I'm the governor, and movie theaters never going to open up. And a place like the Whiskey, which you played, I bring that up because that places like that, and even the Roxy on the famous Sunset Strip, these places are legendary venues, and they were at risk of closing down because you can imagine 2.5 years these places didn't hold any concerts. So it came really close in it, but like I said, I'm thankful it didn't come to that.
Yeah, listen, it rocked all of us. It was touch and go, and for as many venues that survived that, there so many have closed down, and bands are still feeling the effects now because there's less places to play than there were
beforehand.
Prior to. Yeah, I mean, listen, things were on a down spiral prior to 2020 and the whole COVID thing, but it's there's still a rebuilding. There's bands that are no longer around. That were around and they're not here anymore.
And you guys kind of made it through. Yeah,
that's sad.
Yeah, you guys.
It's sad.
Yeah, you guys are one band that kind of made it through, thank God. And then, you mentioned the song Driven Snow. I love that song just for the fact that it is kind of a little heavier of a song. And then the last song I want to ask you about is Get Your Jollies, which is a fun little instrumental tune. It's happy, it's joyful, it's rocking, it's heavy, it's a little bit of everything.
It's that actually started out as just kind of like an experimental piece. And the song has evolved over the years. Like each year, it's been remixed. New parts have been recorded or re-recorded. When we first released the song, it was just a drum track. It was like a drum machine. Because it was just a fun little piece. But then as the Merry Metal Christmas bundle or package, started to grow, we decided to do the song again, and we added, we did real drums, and we started adding pieces and changing some of the mixing and smoothing things out, adding additional bass parts. So it's one of those songs that I think each year there's something a little different with it because it's just an instrumental.
Oh yeah, but it stands out for that reason, and it's a little something different, and that's what makes it stand out. Now, do you want to let people know how they can get a hold of the Christmas album, which is a Merry Metal XMAS?
Yeah, you can go to our website at cornersofsanctuary.com, and you can go to our music catalog page. Just click the button up top, music, and it's right there. You can order it. You can get it. You can order CDs directly through us.
Oh, great!
They were provided by Sonic Velocity Records. We have a limited run of them because you don't carry them all year, but you just carry them for the season. And when supplies run out, and they usually do, that's it. But it's available digitally through Exquisite Noise Records, pretty much anywhere you shop. I mean, Apple Music, Google Music, Deezer, Spotify, YouTube Music, Google Music. You just get it out there. It's out there. Yeah, and
Mick, as you've seen me prepping for an interview today online, I was posting some of the older interviews that you've done with me because you're one of the guys that we've interviewed probably the most over the years, just because you've been such a great friend to us, and we really support what you guys do. So I had fun listening back to some of that, and I urge people to go and check those out. But on that note, I also want to tell people part of the reason I've interviewed you so much, besides the fact that you're a great guitar player and a great songwriter in your band, the thing is the band always, as I said, I was telling you earlier today, your band always delivers the metal goods. And on that note, I want to ask you, I know you're also a Judas Priest fan like me. So what do you think about Priest finally getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Listen, I think it's, to me, as a Priest fan, I think it's fabulous.
Yeah.
The fact that, it took them several times, I guess, in the nominations, that it's, unfortunately, I guess there wasn't enough fans to
get them over the top.
Or, whatever. I'm not exactly sure how that whole thing works, but I wish they got in the regular sense and not this special award thing. But you know what? Like they said, they're in it. What difference does it make? right?
Yeah.
You got to the finish line. What I think is even more incredible is that they reunited with KK.
Yeah.
And it was such. I can't tell you how many times I watched that video.
Yeah.
It's just so electrifying. I mean, I knew that you could tell that KK and Glenn weren't connecting too much on stage at all, so I'm assuming that off stage there was even less. But I really loved the fact that KK and Richie were on the same side, connecting. They were, it was, and that, the lead that he did for Breaking the Law, I thought was just awesome, and I'm real excited about it, and I really do hope that this is something good to come.
I mean,
especially as a Priest fan.
There's been no official word from KK or Priest, but I mean, I've heard a couple things from me and he'll say, who knows, never say never, but I could see that for a couple reasons, because the last couple of years they've had this guy Andy Sneap who's worked with Accept, and he's produced Priest over years. He's one that kind of fills in for Glenn on the road. But I could see maybe KK coming back, and the fact that him and Richie are getting along so well, maybe. So there's hope of that. I love the fact that, did you see the part where Rob Halford got up on stage with Dolly Parton of all people?
Yes, and that was pretty cool too. I mean, I'm a fan of Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
She's always been really cool and hip, and to have that again, you know what? It goes to show you, just like we were talking about when they had them back in the 80s, the PMRC hearings. It has more to do with the artist's connection to what they do and the passion than it has about the genre. And today, in this world, it's hip to definitely genre hop, right?
Oh, sure.
Get involved in other things, because it opens up. Because we're in a worldwide society now, because of the internet, because of social media. If you're not taking advantage of that, you're not looking long term.
Oh, sure.
And these guys, they've been able to keep their career going because they've thought long term.
Oh, sure, and
I think it's really awesome.
Like I think Dolly Parton even has more of a clue than maybe the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because initially she got in over Judas Priest, and she actually contacted Hall of Fame and wrote a letter and tell them, well, I think that's great and I'm honored and all, but I don't really think of myself as rock and roll. And their response was, well, hey Dolly, we don't care what you think. You're still getting inducted, but okay, it got Judas Priest in maybe, and that's a good thing. But what you might be asking, okay, how come Richie didn't get it? How come Tim Ripper Owens didn't? And they have some crazy. The rules are always changing. I mean, like even when Kiss got inducted, they would only induct the original four. They wouldn't even include Eric Carr or Bruce Kulick. And their manager, Priest Management, came out with a statement that I guess the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, their rule this time was, unless you've been in a band for 25 years or more, or you played on an iconic album, then those band members don't get in. So, okay.
Yeah. Well, listen, here's the thing. I could see maybe why Richie didn't get. I mean, Richie's been in the band for about 10 years or so I get that.
Yeah.
I can understand that. I would think that maybe, I'm not sure if but I guess it doesn't fall into the 30 years mark. Maybe that there could have been a line drawn for Ripper, but I don't know. That's what I mean. It took Priest 3 years, 4 years to get in, and then they got in by some other special. So who knows? Those rules could change year to year and band to band. So I don't know.
I mean, the craziest case is like I know the case when Grateful Dead of all people got inducted. People that were like wrote with or songwriters that weren't even in the band, they got inducted. So again, it's ever changing. But before I let you go, I wanted to ask you, because I do know you're a huge Kiss fan like me. Have you had a chance to check out the 40th anniversary Creatures of the Night box set?
I haven't heard it, but I did watch an unboxing of it, and I've seen all the stuff that's included and all, which is really cool. Yeah, saying that, I also been catching that. I don't know the German company. I can't remember, but the German company has been putting together box sets of Kiss material. Okay. And they recently came out with the Elder.
Oh wow!
And of course, everything that they're releasing has the German Kiss
logo.
With the different S's. Yeah. But it's like the quality of it. Of what they're, and I don't know how Kiss works that out. I guess that's something that they're doing
on their own.
Because it's kind of like I guess that German market and what they're putting together because of the logo is a whole separate merchandise type of industry. But it's beautiful stuff.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's amazing.
I mean, I'll tell you, I like a lot of people, I paid, I got mine on Amazon for, it was like $2.89, and it is quite a hefty price. But I will say, if you've got that and you got a desire to get a product like that, they throw in a lot of extra goodies. It was well worth the money I felt that I spent. I mean, and what I really loved as a fan is, besides just the remastered classic album, you get all of these extra bonus tracks that weren't available on the original album. And one thing's obvious, what a big part of that album Eric Carr's drum sound was, you know?
Oh yeah, that's I think that's what really separated that album from previous stuff, right? And I think it was the album. Unfortunately, you know, in hindsight, I guess it fell on deaf ears at the time because of, you know, the whole rebuilding. But that's what really brought Kiss into the 80s, was Eric Carr's drum sound.
Oh, sure.
It was so bombastic.
Sure.
The Anton Fig albums, they're solid albums. It's well produced, but it didn't have that same energy that Eric Carr's playing and that sound. It was big, you know, and it's a shame that they didn't utilize enough of that on the Elder. I love the Elder. We talked about that before. But I think that they could have really captured more of the drums
sound.
But that's what they did on Creatures of the Night, and you know, and that's one of the key points I think that most people, when they talk about that album, will bring up about Eric Carr's playing and that sound.
Yeah, and so I got to ask you, because I think you shared me that you're also a Motley Crue fan. What do you think of John 5 joining Motley Crue?
Listen, you know, I guess we'll never know the true stuff. I mean, if he didn't want to tour, Mick Mars didn't want to tour anymore, but he's going to release his album finally, and he's going to do some shows. So I don't know. I'm not a huge John 5 fan.
Okay,
but I'm not. That doesn't mean that he's not a phenomenal guitar player. So I'm curious to see what they're going to like. Are they thinking new album too down the line?
That would be interesting.
I would really be interested in. I think they could have. Technically, I think they could have gotten any real good guitar player up there to do the material that they want. You know, if they're just doing all their hits. But I'm more interested to see what they would do if they release some new material. I think that's going to be kind of exciting.
That's what I'm kind of waiting to see, because John 5, besides being a great guitar, I do know he's written with everybody, like from the Scorpions and Meatloaf, and he's written some with Nikki Sixx. So that would be interesting. You know, David Lee Roth, obviously, and Rob Zombie. So, and I think even Marilyn Manson. So that would be interesting.
And I think it's going to be some. I've seen John 5 with Rob Zombie, and I mean, again, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of that whole thing, but he is a phenomenal guitar player. I'm not going to take that away from him at all. So I think that if you're looking for someone with a little bit of character, pizzazz,
he's got that,
and that maybe little off kilter, he's got that for Motley Crue.
And
absolutely. Mick Mars was a strange guy. He had a real particular style, and I think that's going to be hard
to replace.
To replace, because it was key. I know Nikki Sixx wrote most of the material, so it had that essence. But when you have that guitar style, that guitar sound, that way that you play, hand technique, you're going to not, you know. Because I seen, you know, I can't remember when Nikki Sixx was doing this stuff.
6 a.m. 6 a.m.
6 a.m. and they were doing, you know, like you could tell it's Motley Crue stuff, but it just didn't have that same Motley Crue. It wasn't Motley Crue, you know. So.
Well, you may not even realize this, but the ones that actually wrote most of that Motley stuff was Nikki and Mick together. I mean, and Mick was a much, I think, very underrated guitar player over the years, and for, you know, he had his little quirkiness and stuff, and people saw that. But when people started to realize that the guy had all these serious health issues all these years and his awful pain, and he's up there on stage, people all of a sudden had a new respect for him.
Oh yeah, listen, I could just imagine what he was going through, but that he kept doing it for as long as he did it, and you know, and he was still able to, write and play. It's just, it says a lot about the passion that you have and the love that you have for your craft.
Sure.
So, I'm looking forward to hearing what
his album,
Yeah, because like I said, he has a real unique sound and style, and that's going to be hard to replace the Motley Crue. I'm sorry.
Oh, sure.
Listen, if the band wants to go on, sometimes listen, look let's go back to Judas Priest real quick, but when KK left and they brought Richie in, I was kind of bummed out.
Yeah,
I was like, oh man, they got a guy that from a distance looks like KK. He's got a flying V. I was real bummed out. But when I went to go see them live with Richie for the first time, I immediately became a fan. The energy that he had, quality, just professionalism, what he brought to the band, and the bands even said it, that they were inspired by Richie's performance, by his passion, by his love of Judas Priest music, for them to do more material. Why stop?
Yeah,
so
they're currently.
Let's hope that happens with Motley Crue.
Yeah, they're currently working on a new album, and I know in the last few albums Richie's been involved with the writing, so he's kind of put his stamp on that part of the Priest era. So before I let you go, Mick, like I said, I want to wish you a very happy holiday season. What's next for the band? I mean, I imagine, knowing you guys, you're already probably working on new music.
We're going to, most of December, we're going to be in the studio.
Wow, see?
We have a new EP coming out early next year. It's called This Is Metal.
Yeah.
It's got five songs on it, all brand new. It's kind of like we're paying homage to some of our root songs.
Okay.
Where we came from, things that kind of inspired us, but in our way.
Yeah.
We're still working on our next full-length album, Vengeance of the Fallen. We should have that wrapped up before the end of spring. We got some gigs already lined up for the new year. We're going to be working with Enough's Enough.
Oh, wow.
We're going back to the UK in April for a 10-day tour, so we can finish that. And we're going to be doing like 4 or 5 performances at the Sonar Fest 2023 this year. They're in several different cities, and we're on the bill for several of those cities. So we're kind of excited.
And the EP and the full length, that's going to be 2 separate releases, right?
2 separate releases. Plus, we got some other projects coming on. Like I said, don't be surprised that you'll hear maybe another cover song coming from Corners of Sanctuary.
Oh, that'd be cool. I mean, and on that note, I wanted to ask you, I don't know how big of a Nazareth fan you are, but I bring it up because, I did a show recently, just last night, with talking about the singer that recently passed away, Dan McCaffrey, and I didn't even realize myself until I did the research for the show that they had a huge hit with that song "Love Hurts," but come to find out. That was not a Nazareth original, but they covered it. It was originally done by the Everly Brothers, and yet anytime anybody thinks of that song, they think it's a Nazareth song.
They think a Nazareth song, it's like Green Manalishi from Priest.
Yeah.
That's an old. I don't know what version of Fleetwood Mac it is, but it's like a really early version. But yeah, a lot of people think that. People even consider. I love rock and roll from Joan Jett. Most people don't know that's a cover.
Yeah.
Sometimes the cover version, look at Ace Frehley's. New York Groove.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that actually, some Smoking in the Boys' Room, though that was a popular song. I think Motley Crue made it even bigger.
Well, yeah, and then I once interviewed Tommy Skeel, the original guitar player from Tesla, and he was telling me when they covered that song Signs, they actually had a bigger hit with the song in 1991 than the original band did in the 70s. They kind of brought the song back and made it more popular than ever.
Yeah, it's amazing. You never know, right?
Yeah.
So we're going back to the whole cover thing. We've gotten to a feeling like our motto now is, if you can't beat them, cover them.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean?
And I guess where we'll end this up on, Kiss too. Another recent kind of cover they did a number of years ago was going back 30 years was "God Gave Rock and Roll to You." Now they changed some of the lyrics, but a lot of people don't know that was originally an Argent song. Oddly enough, Russ Ballard, who wrote "New York Groove," he also wrote that.
Right, yeah. They made it. They made it definitely Kiss. They were hoping that was going to be a big radio hit here in the States.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it wasn't. But it made it like in the top 10. I think it was possibly a number 1 song, but overseas and all. So listen, they still did well with it.
Well, yeah.
I don't think it was what they were hoping it would be here in the States.
Yeah.
But but yeah, definitely, I think it's a cool song. That was used in the soundtrack, right?
To Bill and Ted. Yeah, Bill and Ted's Bogus. And I think the thing that song really did was it got, at least for one album, it got Kiss back with Bob Ezrin.
Yeah, I agree with you. You're right.
And Bob Ezrin, I got in the interview on this note. How big of an Alice Cooper fan, because I asked because a lot of people don't even realize that Love It to Death is kind of where Alice Cooper really got his sound from Bob Ezrin on that album. I say that because if you've had a chance to hear the first 2 Alice Cooper albums, I think Easy Action and Pretty's for You, it almost sounds like a psychedelic band. Sounds nothing like the Alice Cooper we know and love today.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I think that the band Alice Cooper was probably a little bit more eclectic in its approach because you had, Dick Wagner, and you had a lot of influence there from Five Guys.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think that when it was just, well, I should say that when Alice Cooper became Alice Cooper, the solo artist, like in the late 70s and stuff, he was still I think he was still following that path that the band had set. He just took it a little bit. But by the 80s, he kind of polished up a bit.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And it was always I always felt that it was a little softer than it was, there was more of a pop. I think as an older individual now, I appreciate more of what he did in the 80s than I did in the 80s. If that makes sense.
Oh, sure. I got to give it to Alice. So when you consider he's still out there creating new music, he's still getting up on stage doing what he does, and I think he's like in his early to mid 70s, and he's still doing it. So you got to love him, man. For still doing it.
Oh yeah, I've seen Alice a lot of times, even in recent years, and he's still putting on a great show.
Oh,
and you know what I love about him? He's, for the most part, he'll be an opening act.
Oh yeah.
Right? And it takes the pressure off him. He still puts on a fantastic show. The fans adore him. He adores the fans. And, he doesn't have to go out and prove himself.
No.
Going, look, I'm a headliner or whatever. He's done it.
And the thing is...
he set the path for everybody.
I mean, even the thing that people don't realize, he really set the path for everybody. Like you said, when you realize Alice Cooper came before Kiss, it was the 4 guys in Kiss getting together and going to an Alice Cooper show. This is the story Paul Stanley tells, and they seen what Alice Cooper was doing, the band, and he's like, okay, that's great what these guys are doing, but it's only one guy in the band getting dressed up. We're going to take it to the extreme. Each guy's going to have their own persona. Each guy's going to get really made up. And so if it was not for Alice Cooper, Kiss might not be what it is today, Oh,
I agree with you. He was definitely instrumental for a lot of people,
Oh, sure.
A lot of people.
And you say, Alice Cooper goes out there and opens for people. When he does that, the thing is, you got to keep in mind, a lot of times he blows the headliners off the stage.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Well, he does. He also does, he'll do co-headlining stuff and things of that nature. But, yeah, I agree with you. That's what I mean. He doesn't have to prove it by just saying, hey, I'm the headliner. He's still doing headlining shows, don't get me wrong. But he'll sometimes do co-headlining stuff, like I know he went out with Ace Frehley.
Oh, yeah.
And,
that was...
I seen him a number of years ago. He opened up for Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
So, I mean, he can pretty much, because of who he is and
he can do anything.
He pretty much can do anything he wants with anybody.
And a few times when he's fallen on his face, as far as putting out an album that the fans didn't really respond to, he still keeps at it, and the next one's even better,
Oh yeah, listen. Like I said earlier, you can't hit it all out of the park.
Yeah.
But you keep going and you do the best you can, man. That's all.
And that's why I do have huge respect for guys like Alice and even bands like Corners of Sanctuary, because you're even 12 years into your career, Mick. You're at a point where you put enough music out that you could do what a lot of these bands do. It's, we're just going to live off our catalog of music. But I think you're in an interesting point too, where you don't have the same problem a lot of these bands have, that their CDs aren't selling, people's not buying. You have kind of an opposite problem. But, well, okay, everybody's still into what we're doing,
Yeah, listen, I've said over and over again, very grateful. We've been very fortunate that, you know, people do want to hear what we have to do or what we got coming out or what we've done before. And like I said, we enjoy doing this. I enjoy writing. I'm writing all the time. I've been working with some other artists this past year, whether I'm writing lyrics for them or I'm writing, you know, music, and I'm getting involved in you know, not just metal. I'm involved in some other projects, and because it's exciting. Yeah, it just keeps you fresh. It keeps you involved. It helps keep your finger on the pulse, so you don't get lost. And I think many bands, you know, get lost in things, and they, you know, for some it works, and in other bands it doesn't. So I mean, you should do the best you can. But yeah, I'm very grateful that we've gotten this far. I'm hoping we get a couple more years out of this. I mean, as 2022 is wrapping up, I think probably your biggest problem is what songs do we add to the set list and what songs do we take out? Yeah, that's you know, I mean, it sounds funny, but yes, you're absolutely right, because we have, you know, and we have a couple songs that, you know, from the newer material that it's like, hey, we got to work these in, and it's often hard because then some other song has to get pulled out that, you know, works well in the set. People want to hear it, and then there's some songs that just aren't being pulled at all. You know, they have to stay there. So I do know that for 2023, there's going to be a couple more new songs added into the set. So that means, unfortunately, some things are going to get taken out. But, you know, that is a tough thing at times, Well, we look forward to that. And as long as you guys continue to deliver the metal goods to the fans, we're here to support you. So once again, Mick Michaels, thanks for taking time to talk to me. It's always a blast. And you and your family and the rest of the band have a very Merry Christmas and holiday season. Thanks so much, Jason. You too. Everybody out there, have a fantastic holiday. Be safe. Enjoy. Make 2023 even better than 2022 was. Yeah, exactly. That's how we're going to wrap it up. I want to say we're going to be rocking with you in the new year. So take care, Mick, and we'll talk to you later. All righty. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Chaotic Riff Magazine.